At the age of 62, I finally finished this book. I started this thing 12 years ago. And in a minute, I'm going to just give a simple rule of how I was able to move this thing forward. And to be clear, I had zero experience writing fiction. In fact, I was, going to attempt to write a romantic comedy, romantic rom-com, basically. And I don't think I've ever even read a romantic book before, so that was another challenge for me also. And this is not so much about the story of it being finished, though I'll go over those details. I had a really interesting flash of inspiration that I'll share with you on how this story kind of came to be. And how I broke through and gained the courage to get this thing finished. At the age of 62, it can be quite a process, mentally, because we have so many of these things in our head that we tend to believe that aren't always true, right? And I was really kind of afraid for the world to see this, but now you can see that it's real. Hello, I'm Terry DeViac. If you follow my channel, you probably know me as a travel photographer, not as a writer. But with the new year upon us, I wanted to share maybe a little inspiration, especially for those of you or us in our 60s. Maybe we have these projects gathering in dust. Maybe they weigh a little heavy on our head and we want to get those things done. So perhaps this video will give you a little bit of encouragement. So here's the book. It's titled Two Lies. It's a story about Sandra and Stephen who meet in New York City. And it's kind of a fun love story. She comes from a very wealthy family, him not so much. The lies they use to cover up who they really are and how it all comes together. It's available on Amazon. I'll link down below. And it's kind of a fun thing. But let me talk a little bit more about how this came to be. So let's go back to 6th grade. I know you're thinking, 6th grade, what's this have to do with a guy he's in his 60s right now? So I loved writing when I was a kid, and our middle school, we had an interesting setup where you would kind of create your own schedule, and like 9 a.m. for me, creative writing, then it might be social studies, science, math, etc. But I was a little sneaky guy, and what I would do is we would write in journals, and so for 45 minutes, just write in this journal and kind of just let everything freely flow, which was pretty fun. But come 9:45, I would switch that creative writing. I would move it down, erasing social studies, for example, and then putting social studies above where creative writing was. And I would do this for a couple hours. And I have those journals still today. I went to my storage unit just a couple days ago to find those. However, my storage unit is a disaster, and I couldn't find them. And perhaps that's another video for another day of me cleaning my storage unit that's been full for years and years and years I've been paying money for, but I kind of digress. So how this story came about, my mom is a Reiki master, and just think of this as like energy healing. And my mom, she had her own small business doing this, and she was just starting out. She asked me, "Hey Terry, can you come over? And I want to do some Reiki on you." And I said, sure. For me, it's been kind of hocus pocus in my mind, but I thought, okay, I'll give it a shot. As soon as she's got to my head, starting, this incredible, I want to say like a movie played in my head. And it was the movie Two Lies, essentially. And the whole plot, the characters, all the different scenes, everything played in my head. And it was incredible. And I felt so compelled that, number one, I didn't want to lose this. So I sat down and I wrote out the story that afternoon. I sat down on my computer and I just typed away till I think about 2 a.m. in the morning. And what I want to do is capture, the characters, the scenes, kind of that whole plot line, the story and everything. And so I did that. And then I didn't do anything with it for a long time, for 12 years. So in 2024, my girlfriend Linda, we were having a conversation. I was talking to her about this book I wanted to create. For quite a few years, since 2014, I've been traveling to Tanzania, and I had a lot of photos of not only people but animals as well. And so I said, I really want to create a photo book that, not just for me, because I've done like books on Shutterfly and things like that, but I wanted to actually have a book. And that's when Safari Encounters was born. And this is something I'm really proud of. It's my first book that I actually offered for sale, and it's doing quite well. In fact, these are sitting here now because hopefully they'll be sold, but I'm going to sign these as well. So I have a stack of them that I'm going to share. But so in 2025, I ran across the Two Lies file again, and seeing that every time, it's like it weighed really heavy on my shoulders, and I thought, I've got to get this done. But I had a lot of lingering doubt. I present myself as a photographer to the world. Sometimes I'm a travel photographer. Maybe I'm a photographer for wildlife, for people, etc. In fact, my passion is environmental photography, and I'll link the Omo Valley video right here if you want to check that out for some of the work I've done with in the Omo Valley just back in 2024 as well. But in my 60s, I was finally hitting my stride with my creativity. After I completed this book, Safari Encounters, I then was a director of photography for a short western called Shooting Star. It was produced and directed by my friend Krista Rivington, and it was starring Emily Madison. And currently it's in the film festival circuit, so perhaps that'll get some awards. That's what we're hoping for. But my photo book was done, and I had success right there. And I soon realized that this book, Two Lies, can remain in the background, and it may never get written, but I needed to unlock its potential. You start, I don't know, believing that delay means that you're not a good writer. You kind of keep telling yourself, I'm not a good writer, but I thought, it's a good story and it needs to see, light. And, I was kind of hampered by not having confidence. And, here I am, just some guy typing on a keyboard, and I've never had success not writing a rom-com. But in April of 2025, I made the decision to go all in, and I did. And I was laser focused, and I would just focus on this for as long as I could write one chapter. So essentially what I have is this one chapter rule, and you'll see it here on the screen. And essentially, I would track my progress by chapters finished, and not by the hours that I was putting in. So I want to finish a chapter, so I would write one chapter per session, and it had to be just rough. Don't go back and edit it. Don't add any more context. Just get it done, get the thoughts out there, and try to get this thing moving forward. No polishing, just write was the second rule. And then, wanted to finish the chapter every night. So the next day when I started, or the next time I sat down on my computer, essentially what I would be doing is starting fresh. So that worked out really well, and that helped me kind of have those, I guess you'd say, like little bite-sized pieces that I could take out and would make it a lot easier. So you might ask, well, what changed? Why all of a sudden after 12 years did you want to get this done? And I think, being in my 60s, how many years do I have left? It's been 12 years since I've done anything with this. And if I move ahead 12 years, I'll be 74. And I just didn't want this to sit on the computer. I think it's, crazy to leave this kind of heartwarming story on the computer. And also Linda's encouragement. Linda really got me going on Safari Encounters. And she just has a great way of giving me a little push, and not in a negative way, but just in a positive way to help me move forward to get Two Lies done. Realized that I needed to self-publish. I have no pedigree as an author, no agency contacts. So Amazon has their Kindle direct publishing software that you can use. So basically what you do is you upload the manuscript, and you can create like the cover, etc. And so I went through that whole process, and then I ordered a copy of it. You can get author's copies for actually quite inexpensive. And so then I received this copy, and that was the most amazing time, honestly, to open up that box, and it's like, here it is, this is my book. And it was really cool. But you start going through it, you realize, okay, there's some errors there's some punctuation that's not right. So the cool thing about the Kindle publishing system is that you can actually go in and make those changes, and then about 24 hours later they get updated. So anytime you want to update your book, you're not locked into the book you first uploaded. You can update it anytime, and it's really a neat feature. I was really terrified to put this out under my own name, so I used the name, I don't know if you can see here, it's Griffin Lane, so that's my pen name. And I released this in April of 2025, and I think I was terrified because of what people would say. If my friends knew about it. In fact, I didn't even tell my friends for like 6 months that I had done this. Uh, you're thinking, well, how are these Amazon reviews going to sting? And right now, it's all 5 stars. Thank you for all 3 of those reviews, by the way. If you get it, review it. I would love you to do that. That would be really helpful as well. But to get the feedback, you have to release it, and so I did. And publishing really makes it real. And again, it's real. It's right here. It's something you can hold in your hand. In all honesty, I thought it would be a miracle if I even got this published. But the moment I really gained the confidence was when, as I said, I opened that book, and there it was. It was such a huge payoff to see that book in physical form. My friends and family were super positive of it, and in November of this year, or this past year rather, 2025, I actually put it out to my friends on Facebook, and I got a lot of really cool comments, and people privately said, this is great, this should be a movie, and things like that. So, everything is, it changes, when you ship it, and really finishing is the win. That's the big win that I came away with. That unfinished book had really kept a weight in my head, and now that weight is no longer there. And what's up next? Well, it's kind of crazy, but I just finished the screenplay for this. Now, after I finished the book in April, I thought, this would make such a great movie. I didn't know anything about writing a screenplay, so I went on the forums like on Reddit, and there's some other websites that kind of cater towards screenwriters and things like that. So I learned everything I could, how to format it, and there's a program here you'll see on the screen, this Arc Studio Pro that I use, and it just, it really helps you kind of get the dialogue right and the different elements that are required in a screenplay. I'm going to throw it out there. You can pay for a service to have it reviewed, and it's going to get thrashed, and I'm sure it's going to get chewed up pretty good. But you know what? It's going to land wherever it lands, and that's fine with me. And, hey, Hallmark, I'm ready if you're ready to put that out there. And you know what? If Hallmark's not ready, I think in a couple years, in about 2 years, you're going to have the ability as an author to produce your own movie with AI. It's rapidly moving. You can be your own director, cinematographer. You can do everything just from your laptop, essentially. Perhaps AI is the way to go, and so that's an option for me down the road, and I'll definitely embrace that if that's the way I'm going to go. But here's the real point. This book taught me I don't have to fear rejection anymore. Rejection isn't failure. Really, silence is. So if you're not putting it out there and finishing it, I guess in a way you've kind of failed. And shipping is the success. And this year, you have the opportunity yourself to ship something that perhaps you've been hiding. If you've been struggling with putting something out, maybe you want to do a short film or a book or even a photography book if you're a photographer, just why not make it this year? Just move forward with it. Don't become a writer, photographer, filmmaker, or creator by waiting to feel like one. The way you do that is with the receipts. Shoot the scene, write the story, write the screenplay, click the shutter, edit that photo, put pen to paper. That's when you become what you want to become. So why not make this year the year that you get that one thing done, one completed project you can finally hold in your hands? 2025, 2024, what's the new year 2026 going to hold? And here's your January 1st move. Today is January 1st. Happy New Year. And, why not take your phone, 30 minutes on your timer, and just start typing. And once that's done, then you maybe will go 35, 40, 50 minutes. Perhaps you want to continue with that. By the end of January, you'll have over 15 hours worth of work you can put into that project. And perhaps it's a project that will continue on down the road, and you'll be able to share that with the world. The world is really waiting for you to show up, and what you have in your head might be something that they're all waiting for. So drop in the comments that one project you've been wanting to get done, you've been wanting to dust off. I'm curious, is it a book? Is it a photography book? Is it a short film? Maybe a YouTube video? I would love to see those ideas that you're kind of working in your head. And I hope that this video kind of inspired you to kind of move forward in the new year. You know, I'll be turning 63 in a few weeks, and I've got one project I think I really need to do. I think I'm gonna get started on cleaning out that storage unit. All right, Happy New Year, guys. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.